Live.
Oh, we are live. Good evening, everybody.
Yes. We're live on Facebook. Welcome.
We're
DCTBD. We're produced by Heartcast Media.
Right over there.
We are filming from the Mind Space.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Space.
Here in Washington, D.C.
The middle of the space.
Yes.
Middle of the space.
1301 K Street, Northwest Washington, D.C.
To both of our dedicated viewers, all two of them, you probably will notice that we are in different surroundings, different setting tonight. We are in the common area here at the Mind Space, and we're part of an election night party here that is open to the public, so please do come down. I think we're going to have security out front, like between 6 and 7, so
I mean,
if you
I'm
get here by 7.
I'm here. Security is always here.
There we go. There we go. What are we? Is it 1301K?
1301 K Street.
1301 K Street,
the Washington Post building.
Right. Third floor, Mind Space.
Yeah.
Tell them you're here to party. Come on up, join us, because I think we're going to have a fun night.
Yes.
We've got a lot of different opinions on what's going to happen tonight, and so I want to take this like 6 to 7. Well, before we do any of that, let's fully introduce ourselves here. I am your co-host, Ian Taranji. I'm an immigration lawyer. I'm also an artist and musician here in town, and a politics junkie. Can't tell if are we live?
We are live. Okay. We're just making sure our notifications were showing that we were live.
Joining.
Hi, darling. Celebrities are in the building.
This is Crushing Boo joining us here, but let me introduce my co-hosts first.
Yes, that's really important.
And give them the opportunity. We have to my right the lovely, the talented, the intelligent, the beautiful Michelle Bush.
Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing this evening?
I'm doing great.
You're doing great?
Yeah.
All right.
Fabulous.
Marcus, how are you?
I am fantastic.
Okay, well, introduce him now.
At Marcus with the CK Dowling, Dowling.
This is a great Twitter follow, by the way.
You didn't want Ian to introduce you?
I just started talking. But yeah, so it's a pleasure and a joy to be here.
Listen to
Marcus.
what we do.
Marcus tends to get dragged on Black Twitter, so he's a great Twitter follow.
I did that once. That happened. It's a thing.
Yeah, Black Twitter.
That was a beautiful thing.
And
to my left, the man, the myth, the legend.
Oh, yes.
Hello, everybody.
This
Crushing
is Crushing Boo.
Dixon at your service.
The silkiest voice
on the
Heartcast Media family.
The Facebook, the Instagram, and the Twitter. You can find me at Crushing Boo. Pleasure to be here.
I just want to say thank you for allowing me to sit in your seat last week.
I watched the show. I loved it. I couldn't have been happier to have had you there.
Thank you.
That was you
you
brought it.
I had an amazing time.
Yeah, it was a good show.
I don't know if they're gonna let me come back.
Oh, what are you talking about?
It gets real on that show.
It gets real on that show.
We get really real.
It gets real on that show.
Let me pass out my handles.
Please do.
On Twitter, I always say that's the only place you can follow me, and please don't stalk me. But that is at Shelby of DC. So that's CHELLEB of DC. Of course, all things Event Solutions DC, and drumroll, Champagne Soul.
Champagne Soul.
Champagne Soul.
I'm feeling that Champagne Soul life.
Yes, we will be exhibiting our finest soul purpose. There it is. Boop, we taking selfies. Hey.
These long arms are good for something.
Yes. So, Ian, why don't you roll us into DCTBD, what and who we are, and what is going on tonight. I mean, it is election night.
It is election night,
yes.
2018, and so
midterms. We have been talking about the midterms for the last 6 months.
I've been talking about midterms for the last 2 years.
Yeah, well, that too.
By far.
That too. But on the show.
But me on the show.
It's so crazy. It seems so far away, and now it's like, here we are.
I guess the first thing we need to know, did everyone here vote?
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, absentee early.
Yeah.
Everyone out there vote?
Did everybody out here vote?
Did everybody out here vote?
Everybody voted.
Show of hands if you voted.
Show of hands, everybody that voted.
Fabulous.
Yes. Woohoo.
All right.
Yeah, I always early vote because of where I previously worked. And then being on campaign, so it's just easier. First day of voting, boom, it's done. I don't have to worry about too much.
I went Saturday afternoon in Fairfax County, Virginia.
Yeah.
In and out like 2 dogs fucking. I mean, just bam.
Oh, wow. Wow. The drinks here are great.
Yo, what's up with this blue drink?
So you either have vodka-based or tequila-based.
It literally took me 5 minutes to go in cast my absentee ballot in Virginia.
Boo is
And-
looking like, what is it?
I'm thirsty.
You're
Come on, man.
I'm mad thirsty.
He's thirsty. All right, so let's roll into what DC TBD is.
Drinks
Because
right
I
there.
think that is the number one thing that people will want to know sitting here, and those that are live. And thank you for sharing.
Yes. So we're your weekly conversation on politics, culture, art, music, whatever we want to talk about. It ends up being a lot of politics.
Yeah.
A lot of politics.
We were in Washington. We were in Washington by God, D.C.
Yeah.
We are.
The District of Columbia.
Yeah.
Namaste, Northeast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what do we have planned for tonight? We're going to do this show from 6 to 7, then we're going to sort of just watch election results from 7 to 9.
Right.
We're going to come back at 9 o'clock, and by that point we should have a pretty good idea, I think, of where things are going.
Right.
The hope, if you're a Democrat or someone on the left, the hope is that you get the so-called blue wave. And, we saw in 2006, I remember there was a lot of anger at the George W. Bush administration, and we saw in 2006 that kind of wave of anger really propelled Democrats in a lot of places and a lot of races that they, in other years, would not have won.
Right.
And so I think that the hope is that there's a similar rebuking sort of nationwide rising up. And the information that we have right now is, it's spotty. I anecdotally hear from people in Southeast Michigan, in Chicago suburbs, who say that the lines are huge, they're long.
Yeah.
Myself in Virginia, I was able to get in and out real fast on Saturday for early voting. My father-in-law was gone for about 20 minutes this afternoon and was able to cast his ballot, so lines in Fairfax County weren't that long.
Yeah, the lines in D.C. So I was following a lot on Twitter because I tweeted out and I made it very clear that I was not going to beg anybody else to go out and vote. I was not going to make sure that people were sharing because if you want to vote and it's in your heart, you're going to vote. To piggyback off what you said and talking about, the era of Bush, and I definitely think the era of Al Gore, those results were just, we had not really seen that before. And so I'm going to take it on the hip hop side because somebody posed this question today. Why hasn't there been a continuation of kind of the Rock the Vote that Diddy did? Why haven't we continued?
Well, I mean, Rock the Vote predated Diddy even.
Right. I mean, it's vote or die.
Yeah. I mean, vote or die. I didn't mean rock the vote. I mean, vote or die.
Vote or die, okay.
Yeah.
That was 04. That was a midterm.
Yeah.
Initially, right.
Right. So why didn't we? Why didn't he or why didn't
I mean,
somebody else
you
say?
have to ask. You got to ask Diddy.
And he's really not answering
Well,
that
you know,
question because
He hasn't returned my text.
I guess
Yeah.
if he
I'll
had,
say, okay, so vote or die was 06.
Put
that was a midterm.
Cassie in the text message.
That was
and
a-
he'll return.
That was a midterm election
Right.
concept.
Right.
But I feel like ultimately we're at a place where, and this dovetails nicely into my thoughts on tonight, we're at a place where we've depended too much upon polling. We've depended too much upon...
after the presidential election, absolutely.
Right. You've depended too much upon polling. You've depended too much upon the belief that you engage people once and there is no need for re-engagement.
Right.
Well, that's kind of on the same tip as the vote or die thing.
Right.
You know,
You do
the
it-
Occupy
and-
movement.
Right. And we're at a place right now where people don't seem to understand. I mean, you have to create a hue and cry, the likes of which we haven't seen in American politics in the better part of 50 years,
Yeah.
to get people to actually consider the idea that a midterm election actually matters.
Yeah.
So that's what we're dealing with today. For example, in Texas, where Beto O'Rourke and Ted Cruz are in a Royal Rumble SmackDown
Yes.
Raw as War main event for
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 the
a
ages.
Senate seat. It turns out that voting is up 20%. There's like 9 million people that should vote in the state of Texas today.
Right.
Which is astounding, given that that's more people that turned out in Texas for the presidential election in 2016.
He sort of has an Obama effect going.
Right, of
going
course
for
he
him.
does. He's
He's young and charismatic.
He's Latino.
Right.
He's Latino. He's Latino Obama. That's what he is.
Yeah.
Straight up and down. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I feel like what we need to look for tonight, if there are key things to look for, if you're watching this at home, like we have a bunch of people here at Mindspace watching on the big screen here, watch for charismatic Democrats doing well. I think the one thing that the Democratic Party is capitalized upon are the very few people like Stacey Abrams
Yep.
who have extraordinary charisma. The thing with the Republicans is that you're dealing with people who are true populists in the realest sense of the term. And I think that's going to be a big thing tonight.
I think the situation with Kemp is a serious
Right. No,
problem.
I agree.
Like
It is.
it's abhorrent. It really.
It's egregious and it's disgusting. I mean,
Right.
let's just.
But it's the truest sense of populism.
I'm gonna call it across the board.
Yeah.
We've dumbed politics down to its core lowest common denominator factor,
lowest common.
which is people who are unaware of politics
Right.
are now those who are deciding these elections.
There it
In
is.
key states, you have first-time voters who are voting on passion issues that are related to race, that are related to denigration, that are related to angst and evil. And we can call it evil because it is what it is. And
I know the rules.
that's where we're at in 2018.
Yeah.
We have angst towards race and class and low economic and high economic standing as key issues with first-time voters,
Yeah.
which is going to be the key issue tonight because I don't think the Democratic Party was ever really expecting that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you have to excite the core of the Democratic Party as opposed to the core of the Republican Party, which we talk about all the time. The core of the Democratic Party, these are people with college degrees. These are people who are middle to upper middle class. These are people who feel themselves to be political elites. And the hardest thing about political elites is that they don't vote in midterms. And now they're being forced to. They're being forced to do a thing that they're that's unusual to their voting habits. So the real key tonight will be to see if the increase in social media funding, which shot up 269% in the last in the last 2 years,
The fundraising numbers are huge.
were astounding.
Huge.
And
Can I borrow $1?
right, and they're like, and to see if that actually worked,
Right.
to see if flooding the marketplace to tell Democratic voters to vote actually worked, because there wasn't a great deal of discussion of actual politics or actual issues. This vote is merely a across-the-board block of Republican dogma.
Wow.
So that's something to think about. These are things to think about tonight. These are kind of like overarching themes, I feel.
See, I've been watching NBC and then MSNBC, throughout the day with everything that I'm doing, and it's just, and then also, I'm a native Washingtonian. I live in Northeast DC, and as I was, riding the bus today, it's just always amazing to me. I'm passing by locations, and I'm just looking at people, and in my heart, it's just so, it's upsetting. Because we can break down numbers and we can break down what the Dems, what the GOP, what everybody is thinking and where everybody is going. And I'm just looking at the corner of 8th and H, DC, like nobody on this corner voted. And how is it that we will move people to get out and vote, move people to get out and care,
Give DC statehood.
to become part of these
I
numbers?
don't even think it's DC statehood. I think again,
Well, I did not say anything about DC
no,
statehood.
it's a matter.
No,
It's
I
a
did.
matter. It's a
I
matter.
Oh, you
of-
did? Because I could no.
But to me, it's a matter of.
I am the big X on DC
Well,
statehood.
there's a lot of people who think that because DC's not a
I'm
state,
the
it
big
doesn't
plus on
matter.
DC
There's no, but I mean, they're
I'm
still
an
not
X.
engaging in local
right.
politics,
They're
which
not-
does affect
and
them.
and I did, and I tweeted this out, and I said for everybody that's posting their pictures with their little I voted stickers, I want to see your pictures at the community meetings. I want to see your pictures everywhere else outside of just today and just voting.
Or next election, everybody take 2 people and take them to the poll with
Something,
you.
just something.
Something to add to.
If you want a recommendation on whose campaign to go work for, who needs some help and everything, just call me. That's what Event Solutions DC does. We do campaign coordination.
Right. But again, I want to.
What's the name of that again?
That is Event Solutions DC.
Yes.
There it is.
You can follow that on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
So
Hit 'em
again,
up.
I feel like the issue again is that there aren't across the board groundswell of truly charismatic Democrats that are running in this election cycle. And that's problematic because the key is that the President of the United States, the person that is largely still, even though he is not running,
No.
the person who is largely in control of this entire election cycle.
Yeah, he's
He
on the
is-
ballot.
He's on the ballot. He's literally the number one issue.
Yeah.
He is the most charismatic. He's the most charismatic politician in the world right now. He literally dominates global policy on sheer charisma alone. On sheer, as we say on this podcast, Americana dipshittery.
Yes.
Americana
Kinda
dipshittery.
T-shirts coming
I
soon.
mean,
Oh, absolutely.
That's what
amazing.
that's what he does.
Coming soon from Champagne Soul.
Coming soon
Exactly.
from Champagne Soul.
So the
LLC.
frustration
Yes.
then is
Don't try to steal that.
right. How do you counteract that level of charisma? You can't. I mean, even crazier.
Well, I can tell you what
Right.
the Democratic plan has been to counteract the charisma, has been to laser focus on issues like healthcare, on issues like immigration, to really focus in on things that are going to that they believe.
Right.
Their theory of the case is that they can motivate people with sort of the basic kitchen table issues.
Right.
And I would also take some exception. Democrats have been able to recruit, I think, some really very good candidates in this cycle.
They're good. They're not charismatic.
I mean,
We've talked about it before the podcast. Q ratings, man. Q ratings matter in modern American electoral politics.
You've had politicians who've tried to behave like Trump, and it hasn't worked out
Right.
in their favor.
It's backfired
Yeah.
because it wasn't true to who they are.
Right.
Trump is true to who he is because he has always been that
So,
way.
so
Right.
speaking of people that have been true to who they are and the country has really gotten behind them, so that we're not completely negative, or anything negative out of my mouth is not negative.
No, it's
Stacey
not.
Abrams
She's been eloquent
in Georgia
since before she got to Spelman.
has been astounding. I feel like she's really going to get a bump out of the Georgia race. She's the one, even if she does not win, which I feel like she will win.
I'm scared.
In the case of somebody like people like Beto, Beto's going to get a bump out of this, even if he loses. And I don't think that's the case because Beto's so high profile that it's a lose-lose. It's a
win-win
lose-lose.
for him.
But if he loses, he loses because he lost to Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
Right.
If he lost to a lesser candidate, then that would be not
And I
so
mean,
much of an issue.
they're dogging,
I mean, in
they're
a sense,
dogging
he
Ted
would be
Cruz.
losing.
But he
to a
lost
lesser
to the
candidate.
right. But he lost to the guy.
Right.
So in the case of Stacey Abrams, even if Stacey Abrams does not win, she successfully engaged with
The guy.
across the board, especially African American popular cultural iconic figures.
Yeah.
When you have Oprah and Obama stumping for you, when you have even young Jeezy, the snowman,
The snowman.
if you will,
The snowman.
with his chain on,
Yes.
with his snowman chain,
Yeah.
walking through
You had all the Atlanta. You had all the Atlanta housewives.
of all of them.
All of them.
Exactly.
gosh.
Put it on their Instagram.
If there is any one person that stands to gain the most from even not winning, it's Stacey Abrams, because
Yeah.
she's done an astounding job in really captivating, I feel like, the Democratic core, which at its core, if you're looking at the new core of the Democratic Party, if there's anything that comes out of this, the new core of the Democratic Party is African American females.
Hey,
They're the smartest people in the party across the board.
it's good to see y'all.
So it's something to really think about.
Unless you voted for Trump.
Absolutely not.
They're out there.
So I think
Oh,
this,
they are out
They're
there.
out
I mean, the
there.
numbers
There's-
came out. We know who they are.
They're out there.
Oh, hey, Candace. Good to see you, girl.
So Stacey Abrams is
Hold on a
an
second.
interesting.
Oh, Candace.
Sipping.
Oh, girl. Bless your heart.
Bless your heart.
You know what's funny?
Which
Stacey Abrams, I think, is really interesting because that's going to tell us how this night's going to go.
you think it's
you
going
know,
to set the
Do
tone?
we,
I
do we
do
want to
think
talk about? Do we want to talk about Andrew Gillum as well?
Yeah,
Uh,
Andrew
oh,
Gillum.
I feel like that's
but
definitely
I
going
feel
to
like
Better
Georgia's a
talk
tougher pull for Democrats than Florida.
Right.
And that's why, Georgia, there was some talk in 2016, back in the heady days when we all assumed we'd be living under President Hillary Clinton, when we talked about, is Georgia the next spot that's going to turn blue? I mean, Arizona, Virginia had already gone, and was Georgia next? And obviously that hasn't panned out.
Fascinating.
So that's
yeah.
why, Stacey Abrams is a fantastic candidate. She's a perfect candidate for a rising Democratic coalition in that state.
Something to think about. 2020, even past this, I think that's the time where you see states like Florida and Georgia flip blue and stay blue for a really long time.
Like
Because
Virginia,
there's been a-
Virginia.
Yes,
I will-
because there's been a story that's been happening in Atlanta since '92 with African American investment.
That's,
wait,
that's,
are you gonna-
that's
community.
big.
Are you gonna school us on trap music and
I'm
its-
going to talk
its
about
history
trap music.
from
I'll
the-
talk
from
about
the strip
trap-
club?
I can
trap
talk about
music
trap
and-
music. I
and-
can talk about Babyface. I can talk about LaFace Records. I
Yeah.
can talk about the divestment and investment of African American, the divestment of the entrenched whites, and the investment and redevelopment of that city. even past Maynard Jackson
Yeah.
of Atlanta, Georgia.
I mean, Black Panther was filmed in Atlanta.
Right, which was done solely by
at Tyler Perry's.
strong African Americans.
I mean, we may not like his movies and some of his work, but I love him because he just said, "All right, I'm about the whole thing, and then y'all just film what you want to here."
Right.
He's killing off Medea.
But that's the thing, right? And I mean, that says a lot too. So
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
So,
Sorry.
I hadn't
let's-
made them through them all.
Sorry
But
for
let's-
any of the Medea fans
right, but let's also
out
talk,
there.
let's also talk
I
about
don't think
We're not
there's a-
aware.
let's also talk about Florida, where Cesar Sayok,
Yeah.
attempted to blow up 14 prominent Democrats
Yep.
unsuccessfully. He's from Florida,
With an amazingly decorated van.
right?
And
he's,
he- and-
he's from Florida, but also from Florida.
And dollars in his G-string.
But I want to say also that guy, that part
Takes all kinds.
But also that guy,
He's the dude who shows up at your house in the police officer uniform. He's like,
of course. But I also want to
is
say that.
Cindy Smith here?
All right, but I want to say that
A warrant for your
That's
arrest.
bad. That's
The
one of my
thing-
church members' names.
Uh-oh.
the thing
I was
about-
trying to think of like the whitest white girl name I could
the
think
thing about Florida that's the most fascinating
no.
part about this whole thing that happened is that the Florida race changed in what has to be like the most meme-worthy moment of this entire electoral cycle.
Wait, you said the most meme-worthy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
It
Gillum's
hit-
on the dais at the debate,
Oh, I
and
know
he's
I know where you're going.
he asks the Republican if he's still accepting money from racist donors and
Yep.
benefactors. And he looks and he says, "Well, they say you are, and they say you are, and you don't even have to say that you are because you are."
Yeah.
And he basically like he took the Mickey out of the entire campaign, and there was a moment there.
What
And
is he
it's-
said? When the racists know that
Right,
you're
you're a racist.
You're a racist.
Right,
The
then
hit
you're
dog,
racist.
a hit dog hollers.
A hit
hit dog
dog. A
hollers.
hit dog will holler.
Right.
That
So
was.
so the thought. So the
That
thought.
may be
is-
the line of the election.
Yeah. Here's what frustrated me the most about that, though. And this is what shows the real issue in the Democratic Party. That we will see again tonight, over and over again. If there's a thing that I'm going to say like 100 times, this will be it.
Yeah.
The level of disorganization in the Democratic Party.
Well, come on.
Well,
Yep.
yeah.
That's a moment that if they were more organized, they would have flashed that to every single race and made that a campaign platform point
Right.
for at
Dog.
least 10 days.
A hit dog who will holler. Okay, so let's open up this question. Will the DNC, because we've seen a couple of reports this week already, will the DNC now get it together? Because we know that at least two people here at this table are purely disgusted by the DNC. And
Aye.
I would go so far as to say disillusioned,
Yeah, disgusted. Yeah, I mean,
the
DNC's job is to win fucking races.
disappointed.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
if they're
beyond
not,
disappointed.
if they're not winning races, yeah, that's
Right.
a problem.
I'm beyond. Okay, so all four of us here at the table. So does this give them the up? Does this give them the chance to say, now we need to look at the people that were on the campaigns of these races and pull them in?
I don't even
Or are they going to continue to do the same thing that they've been doing and still try to throw in support? Hillary's talking about, oh, yes, I'd love to be president. We would not like for you to be president.
There definitely needs to be a changing of the guard.
We've talked about
Definitely.
Camelot
We
is
need
dead.
to be,
Camelot is dead.
we need to be forward thinking in our approach. And you talk about disorganization. I just think that there needs to be a consistent message. What is this umbrella with the big tent? We're the big Democrats are supposed to be the big tent party. Okay, well, what's under this tent?
What does it
What
mean?
is the
What's the
unifying message that we're all going to
I
get
was-
behind no matter what? Because Republicans are going to vote straight down the ticket.
Right.
A
Well,
Democrat
there's a few.
is open-minded enough that they might vote. They might actually vote outside of their party.
Now,
We need to get-
now there's a few that have already crossed and said, yes, I am a Republican and I am voting Democrat this midterm election.
Yeah,
yeah,
Will we now see more?
shout outs to all the defectors.
Yeah. Will we see more?
I want to mention that, speaking of the Democratic Party, the greatest living president in modern history is still alive. And he will be alive for at least another 40 years.
Jimmy Carter.
No. Barack Hussein Obama is the guy I'm talking about.
Jimmy Carter.
He's alive,
Yes.
and
doing well.
he was called upon too late
Yes.
in this cycle. I want to say.
I think he was called upon too late with.
Here's my thinking.
What's that woman's name?
If you talk about a big tent for the party, Obama's at the top of that tent.
I mean, literally, he could. If the Constitution wasn't what it was, we could put his name back on the.
So, as well, you also have Bill Clinton at the top. At the top of that, he's a brilliant strategist.
We would vote Bill Clinton back in the office.
Speaking of too late, Ben Jealous. Running as the Democrat.
Way too late.
Way too late.
Too late.
Way too late.
No social media.
Way too late.
Yeah.
You know, like a third of Marylanders didn't even know
who he was.
Yeah. Right. So, but I feel
and
like
I know intelligent.
And Larry Hogan is popular. Larry Hogan is popular.
Yeah.
Marylanders that are like, bruh, a little too late right now.
So the thought is that
because they've worked with the other candidate before, and he has crossed lines.
And what you want to do is work with Republicans that are willing to work across the lines.
So here's my thinking.
You know.
Like I was going to say we have.
I'm gonna get you a T-shirt that says "Here's my thinking."
Here's my thinking.
Here's my thinking.
Here's my thinking.
Because
I'm thinking when we talk. I'm always thinking.
A pen for that.
He is always thinking. He is always thinking. That's why.
The thought is initially. What's up?
You need a tie clip that says, "Here's my thinking."
I probably so. It'd be nice. From Champagne Soul, no less. Okay, so Obama's at the top. He's the perfect, like, idealized figurehead. Even wait until he has white hair. When Obama has white hair, he's dangerous.
He's already starting to get there.
No, but you're not going to stop him.
No, you notice
he
that
gets
his
to like Morgan Freeman level.
Yes, exactly.
You know that his hair kind of went back to not being so white, and then
I saw a video of him yesterday where he was campaigning with Tim Kaine, and
he's reverse aging now that he's not president.
I can
he's
show
like
you,
Benjamin Buttoning. Either way,
I can show you video from Sidwell from the other night when him and Michelle were there, and it literally, I was like, that looked like
maybe Michelle took him to the salon.
So
that looked like 2008.
Right. So you want this man with white hair at the top as like the legendary figurehead of the party. You want somebody like Bill Clinton, who's a strategist, not so public because he's Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
And because of Me Too. Me Too exists, so you can't really have Bill Clinton at the front of the party. So you have a guy like Clinton, you got a guy like Bernie Sanders even, you pull him in as a strategist on a strategic side.
Bernie got burned though.
So
why would he want to?
Because he's a strategist. He doesn't have to be public. He's a guy that you talk to because you need to have that far left radical growing subcore of the party.
Is Biden in the mix?
Developing. Of course he is.
Uncle Joe?
Uncle
Joe.
I'm just asking.
Uncle Joe can beat Trump.
Right. In my mind, you could put Uncle Joe
I want him to fight Trump.
Right. You want Uncle Joe, even if he's not winning, you want him on the dais.
Down Congress Heights.
Fisticuffs.
Right. You want him on the you want him on the
3-year-old
dais.
girl over there could take Trump.
Right. You want
she's adorable.
Right. You want him on the you want him on the dais in debates to push these young Democrats. You want under that, you want, like the front runners in Congress to be present. And then under that, you have a lot of young governors that are all developing from numerous states, especially in the Midwest. It's fascinating to see places like Minnesota and other states growing new Democrats and developing them. And then under that, you want that core of celebrity. All of these celebrities that have shown up in the midterms. Keep these people around because the president's a celebrity.
Is Cynthia, what's her name, from Sex and the City?
Cynthia Nixon.
Yeah, she's still on the ballot,
still
right?
on the ballot.
Okay,
Yeah, but even if she doesn't win, you still want her around.
Yeah.
And you can redevelop a party
No,
around
she lost
her.
the
hope is that,
primary.
unlike the Vote or Die initiative, that, anybody that's engaged at this point continues.
But I think they will be because the real race is 2020.
We need staying power.
When I run for
consistency.
When I run for office in D.C., I want Alec Baldwin on my security detail.
That can be accomplished. That's easy.
He'll get you a parking spot. That's for damn sure.
I mean, but that's
here's the thing: if I
We'll
run
get
for
you a
office,
parking
I am still gonna ride the X2.
The only thing that would
you
have
hear
been
me?
better was if he had been dressed
You
up
heard it.
as
You heard it right
Trump
here,
when he got
DCTVD.
when he got arrested.
right. But you want that.
I'm still gonna ride the X2 if I run for office.
You want anybody that comes out of
You
here,
should put that on a T-shirt.
especially like Stacey Abrams or somebody, to be able to stand with a unified group of these dignified, liberal, intelligent people.
First of all, I just love the videos that come out that people share and I'll be very blunt about it, where you just see these little white kids running up to her like Big Mama, and I mean they are hugging her, but it's genuine, and then you see the parents. and they are just like, thank you for your words. Thank you for what you stand for and what you believe.
The example that she sets.
It's a wonderful example. And I mean, again, you can see campaign things where you put children in. Not when children are like crossing the line and coming out and just hugging you like, you are the best person. Thank you
She's
so
a pop
much.
star.
Yeah.
She's a pop star. And I think that there's a difference between what she's done and what Gillum's done. Gillum has this sense of like, he's going to be a career politician.
Yes.
In like the Lyndon Baines Johnson sense, I am a politician, or even the sense of like a Jimmy Carter, I am a politician.
Like a public servant.
Right, I'm a public servant. This is my job. And you know, like and
in that voice.
Right, and Stacey's like, yeah, let's go. I'm here. I'm here to stand up. I'm here to look you in the face and tell you exactly what's going on. The fascinating thing is that this midterm election is exactly that. It is a midterm referendum on just how far the Democratic Party has come in discovering what it's going to take in order to regenerate and reinvigorate themselves.
I like that perspective as opposed to what a lot of people are saying is that this election is going to be a referendum on Trump. Because while it will be in some perspectives, you know, on the other hand, you know,
Trump's already won. If you like, okay, so
if you're making it about him, then he's already won.
He's already won. I mean, in his stumping this week, by the way, he stumped with Sean Hannity and Rush Limbaugh in back-to-back campaign moments, which says everything about where the Republican Party is at right now. If you have a show on Fox or you are a radio host in the 1990s, you're going to get a call. So that's where you are.
He still has a radio show.
He still has a show.
Right. He still has a show.
On some, I don't know on what what platform.
So we're half a second away from Alex Jones getting a call. I feel like it.
Oh,
any
God.
minute.
Right.
So we're actually getting now some returns coming in.
Definitely bring these up, please do.
And it looks like Indiana is where we're getting a lot of our returns. I'm also looking at CNN. So Kentucky 6, I think, is an important race. Amy McGrath is someone Democrats have pinned a lot of hopes on. If I'm not mistaken, I believe she's a former military.
And please understand that the polls have not even closed yet, but you
Not
all
even closed,
know
yeah.
how this happens, that numbers are starting
Where are the
to
6
come
o'clock
in.
polls closing? We have some. Yeah. There's some polls that close as early as 6.
7:30, and 8 o'clock are the first
So
rounds
right
on
now
the East Coast.
in Indiana Senate, right now Joe Donnelly is down 58 to 38. It's down about 20 points. We don't know where votes have come in, where they haven't yet come in. But
so this is a fascinating point to bring up with flyover states. Flyover states are very important in this election. I want to bring up the fact that here's where polling is problematic. You can't count people that don't pick up their phones.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
And the way that people don't like robocalls.
I don't pick up my phone.
And if anything that Trump has done,
Muriel Bowser, know not to call me.
anything that Trump has done, he has mobilized his base to distrust all media.
Yeah.
So that invalidates every poll that you've seen. Especially, the thing that gets me is, okay, so I have a standard rule of judgment, and this will actually, we'll judge this tonight, actually. My standard rule of judgment is that if you are within 6 polling points of someone, you're actually nowhere near winning that race. So in the case of Texas, where everybody's like, okay, we keep it within 3 to 5, we'll be able to win. That's actually not the case.
What's a comfortable margin for you?
13%. Because you're just a little bit past 10, and you're not to the point where it's completely blown out of proportion. You have to understand, again, this conservative mob that's showing up at the polls today, these are people that are literally unaccounted for.
Do you think that anybody's going to jump the gun tonight, call a race, and then tomorrow
At least 5 times.
something will change?
At least 5 times.
I don't know. I think everybody might have a little battered voter syndrome from the presidential election, and maybe there'll be a little bit more conservative in there.
Can we go back to 2000?
Well,
Please, let's not.
No, but I'm just
I'd like
bit
to.
of a blur.
I'd like to not.
We have to talk
I'd like
about
to think.
hazy.
I'd like to think that they learned their lessons. We've had close elections since then that we didn't suffer the same fate as Florida 2000, and so I'm hopeful that we're gonna get as much information in as possible before they make calls, and for them to be responsible journalists.
Do we want to briefly talk about the local
Right.
election cycle this year?
Yeah, let's please.
Let's briefly talk about
I mean,
DC. I saw Muriel Bowser today in Ward 3.
Oh, did you see her in
I saw
in
Ward
the
3.
baby?
I did.
Oh, that's so cute.
Said hi. I gave her a handshake. I rubbed the baby's head.
You took a picture
She let you
too?
touch her
I
baby?
did that.
You took a picture.
Yeah, I rolled. I kept it moving.
So,
But yeah. So the
We
mayoral
are brought
election.
to you by Bowser for mayor.
Not really.
We
But,
are we are not.
Not even. But so
Not
in any
even
event,
close.
but I'll just put it like this. As long as DC
You will
looks
get
like
chopped in your throat.
as long
tonight.
as long as DC demographically looks the way it looks, the Democratic primary is for all intents and purposes the mayoral election.
Right.
So that's just what it is.
Yes.
And this is what's fascinating with the population shift in DC being what it is. This is a fascinating thing that has taken place in this most recent election cycle. Muriel Bowser took over the high heel race in DuPont Circle. It was sponsored by the mayor's office.
No, it was Muriel Bowser Presents.
Right.
Okay, so
Which is
let me
basically implicit.
let me be clear. Real clear who I used to work for, and under two different administrations, anything that was definite and budget worthy, whatever it may be, that came from the office of the mayor or the office of the chairman had the correct logo, publication, whatever it may be on there. These things have just been popping up talking about Muriel Bowser Presents. That's not how this works. The high heel race has never been presented by the office of the mayor.
It's always just been
The high
the
heel
high heel
race.
Right.
And
so,
but the thing about it is, and nobody is calling her on this. Now, this is not going to turn into the dig of I don't like Muriel Bowser. She's an interesting woman. I don't like her political style, for many reasons, going back all the way to her being an ANC. Why? And a friend and I were talking about this. It's just that why hasn't anybody else stepped up, pulled the trigger to say, not really pull the trigger, that I am going to run? Because the other candidates that ran, they were write-ins, and just let me be clear, they're no good.
I'll explain this simply. It's the savviest move in the history of DC political, in the history of DC politics.
But it's continuing to hurt us.
No, but I'll explain why. The only person that could beat Muriel Bowser is a gay white man from Ward 4.
There are two people that can beat her. Call Chuck Theus, they're in the numbers.
So, but ultimately, the savviest move is to be able to brand yourself, not even through the mayor's office, but through your election campaign, through your own funds, through funds that were raised for you, so that you are aligning yourself with the most significant next wave political bloc in the nation's capital.
Okay, so we're going to get off the mayor, and now
Yeah.
we're going to talk about the office that's still local, because, I mean, we do have to talk about local politics.
Of course we do.
The Eleanor Holmes Norton.
Yes.
Now, I will tell you, I like her. Met her several different times.
I'm sensing a butt in here somewhere.
Oh, honey, it is a capital B, capital U, capital T. When is she going to tap somebody on the shoulder to say, you're next?
I would like to know that
it's
she's
time.
grooming somebody, because she's not going to be here forever.
She's 81 years old.
It's time. It's about 10 years past time.
So I would say that the fascinating thing to look at is, again, I'm going to bring up somebody's name just because they're a person that did not win in their first foray into politics, but they're the most significant person that's floating about the city, and that's Marcus Goodwin.
Bye.
I'm just putting it out there, putting his name out there, because he's involved in real estate. And if you know anything about Washington, D.C. right now, Washington, D.C. is going to be next to
Hooking.
the Amazon office in Crystal City. That's happening.
I mean, it's happening. It's going to be Crystal City in New York.
Right, and high-rise real estate and being able to manipulate large sums of property.
Why don't they just use the
Will
old
be-
patent office?
Right, we'll be able to give you
What do you think?
access.
That's what they're doing.
Oh, okay.
Right,
There
we'll
you
be
go.
able to give you
That's what they're doing.
access
You're
to
welcome.
having significant political stake that is also national stake in politics. So there are people that are out there. I just wanted to bring up Marcus Goodwin as a name because I don't think that. I mean, ideally it would
Marcus,
be.
he's a good guy and everything, but I the way that those numbers looked,
Right,
They
but
were not
like
good.
This
They
is,
were
this
not
is his
good.
first time. He reminds me a lot of Bobby Kennedy in that way. Where
they were not good.
the
numbers.
first time he ran,
and he put. I think he was overly aggressive. Because I caught a couple of conversations with some people, and I was like, you know what?
Young kids want to turn up.
He's got his high heels on. Not saying he wears high heels, but he was he's shorter than me, folks. And he was real tall in his conversations, and I'm kind of like, that ain't gonna get you far. Again, if you're looking for campaign coordination and understanding of how this DC political thing runs, contact Event Solutions DC.
That's Shelby of DC. At Shelby
I
of
have
DC.
been on some nice, great campaigns that the candidates have not been in the paper. We don't have to put mailers in mailboxes. That happened in my neighborhood. That crazy former ANC in my neighborhood has put mailers in the mailbox, which is illegal. And it's just like, we just can't get rid of her. Even though she's not an ANC anymore, still can't get rid of her. That damn Kathy Henderson.
This is awesome, though, because I love getting schooled on DC politics.
I mean, there's a lot, because you've got the chairman's office. Phil. Hey, everybody knows. I used to work for Phil.
I didn't know that basically all of the ANC people are running unopposed this year.
Pretty much.
Functionally, yeah.
I was interviewed by a journalism student today outside of the polls
Yeah.
that asked me what I thought about that, and I told her I really had no idea, and she asked why
people are tired.
She asked why people weren't
People are
doing
tired.
more about it.
Stepping up, yeah.
Well, I feel like a lot of people don't think about their ANC. Like if this is a transient city. So if you move here, you're not thinking about your neighborhood advisory committee.
No.
Like you're not.
And you need to.
And and you don't think about them until something happens on your block that you don't like.
Correct. And
So-
I live on a block that something's always happening.
I mean, I live next door to mine and didn't know it, until,
Really?
yeah.
Okay, now you know.
No, no.
So I expect to see you at your ANC meeting.
Probably-
DC
probably
residents,
not.
step-
They never happen on days when I'm
Step
not
up.
working. It's sad.
Step up and
I've
help
tried to
run your
go.
city. So we are down to our last 15 minutes or so before we are going to cut out for a couple hours and watch. I did want to point out one non-political thing. This was a little something that I was getting all my stuff in my bag today to come down here and do the show with you guys, and I ran across this piece of sheet music. This is something that had been working on. Strasbourg Saint Denis by one Roy Hargrove.
Yeah.
I had been working on this. And
R.I.P. Roy Hargrove.
Peace and love to Roy Hargrove.
Yes.
Rest in peace. I was a huge fan. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a big jazz head.
I'm going to show you a picture of him at JoJo's, because, JoJo's is the spot on U
Yep.
Street where on any given night you can roll up in there and see anybody random.
That is correct. There's a great jazz heritage here in the District of Columbia, and but yeah, it was very, very sad to hear about the passing of Roy Hargrove. And
Absolutely.
When this popped up in my bag today, I was like, oh.
That's perfect. But you
How
know what?
about that?
But we can talk about music, as we do roll into the last couple of minutes of the show until we come back on. How many people, and, we always say, should celebrities be in politics? Should they kind of stay away? And shout out to all the celebrities that have told Trump, cease and desist, do not play my music at your rallies anymore. And I mean, this is across the board, white artists, black artists, it doesn't matter. They have just said
Remember
stop.
when the Dixie Chicks did that and got crucified?
Right.
How far we've come.
Well, artists have always they've always done that with
There's a political robocall.
political robocall. I know.
Thoughts on, speaking of music, thoughts on Kanye deciding to
Step away.
step away
Why?
from
You
Why?
knew our trigger word.
Why?
You
That's a
knew that
trigger
Kanye-
word.
Oh, wait,
Yeah,
I'm
put
sorry.
it
was our
I
trigger
meant to
word.
say Kanye.
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 We were not going to talk about him.
Well, I'll say that fascinatingly,
Marcus is going to talk
occurred.
about it.
It occurred. I'll say that fascinatingly, Kanye West's lack of interest in politics dovetailed perfectly with the final death throes of the election cycle. So it was kind of like a perfect coda on a period of time in which a person could have been leveraged in order to shift interest of key Democratic Party and key liberal indicators away from actual campaign issues.
Okay.
I think
Those are things.
I think one of two things happened with Kanye. One, he either got the attention that he wanted, or two,
Somebody-
it was a gambit that just went horribly wrong.
Somebody changed his prescription on his medication.
Somebody started grinding it up and putting it in his food.
No, they had been doing that. They just
got the mixture right.
Probably.
They got.
I mean, you have to realize what we talked about that on the show. The man was in Wyoming, in his studio, taking that medication and downing it with Hennessy.
Yes.
Like
As one does.
Like guzzling. You have to realize the medication that he's taking basically is trying to erase the like part of his life that never happened.
So, on top of that, I'll say that the fascinating thing is
that available over the counter?
Not at all.
In gummy bear version.
Right. So to see both him and Candace Owens being leveraged in a significant way, and then for the two of them to have hatred and enmity towards each other.
I think.
Are they being leveraged, or are they leveraging themselves?
Okay, so here's what I'll say. The most telling point is that when Cesar Sayoc was apprehended, Donald Trump announced it at an event that was being thrown by Candace Owens, where Kanye West T-shirts were being sold.
Right.
That's all I have to say.
Were those officially licensed Kanye West
Well, that was
t-shirts?
the Blexit thing that set him off, right?
Right, exactly. But that was very emblematic of a relationship that had been formed between three people that we have discussed as being in some kind of loose political collusion.
Yeah.
Collusion.
Collusion. T-shirts.
Conclusion.
Collusion.
Collusion.
Oh my goodness, this is so crazy. Well, I just want to say, thanks to everybody that's hanging out here. In the beginning, I know we definitely were going to, we just jumped right into it. That's what happens on the show.
I know.
So let's give you, in the last kind of 10 minutes of the show, let's actually give you a breakdown for those of you that are watching and maybe have not, or, just logging in and have not gotten a reel of what's happening. We're going to formally introduce ourselves, what we do, and kind of, what our feels are in the city and politically. What is DCTBG? Who are we? What do we do? And, and what we're looking forward to. So, Ian, you are the T in the...
I'm the T.
Yeah, you're the T.
So DCTBD, obviously we know what DC is. T is Taranji, B Bush, D Dowling, T BD.
Yeah.
I'm Ian Taranji. I'm immigration lawyer, artist, activist, immigration activist, bilingual
All
dude, politics junkie,
Father.
and was also a poli-sci and history major at the University of Michigan.
that. Yeah.
Go Blue.
Go Blue. All right. Well, I am the B in the DCTBD.
Oh, actually, wait. Before I apologize.
That's okay.
At Wilkesons84, the story behind that Twitter handle, you have to go back a couple of DCTBDs to get that. Like you, that's the only way you can follow me.
That's the only way.
Don't. Just don't.
Just don't.
Just don't.
So I am the B in DCTBD. And I always say our name is very unique because in DC, in this political climate that we in, everything really is to be determined. I didn't want, when we were talking about the name, we're like, well, what are we going to call ourselves? And it was just like, TBD.
Just for the record, I wanted the show to be called Let Me Ask My Black Friends.
And I was like, no, we're not going to name it that.
And that guy shut down.
Yeah, no, we're not going to do that. So I am the B. I am Michelle Bush. I'm a native Washingtonian. Growing up here with just an interesting kind of climate. My mother was a doctor. My dad was an executive engineer. Grew up in Southeast DC, Alexandria, Virginia. And so I basically have seen it all from both sides of the railroad tracks. I say I'm a child of the CBC, the Congressional Black Caucus, because of who my mother was friends with. So I have always been in a political climate here in the city. My godmother used to take me to the council meetings. Marion Barry and my mother met in 1961. So I've always had an opinion. I've always had a voice in regards to how I feel, what I feel, and what I want to know about. And I used to work for the DC government, so I have a crazy background: hospitality management, government affairs, and PR communications. So it is really, really crazy, but I think it all, rolls into one, and that's the B in the DCTBD. So how about the D?
Hi, everybody.
Pause, no pun intended.
Joy.
Is this my show?
Okay, so my name is Marcus
getting
K.
kinda
Dowling,
racy.
at Marcus with the C, K. Dowling, Dowling, on all social media. I'm a broadcaster, a journalist, and entrepreneur. I currently am the creative design lead at Decades Nightclub, 1219 Connecticut Avenue Northwest, Washington, D.C. It's a 12,000 square foot retro-themed nightclub. I've also worked for Vice and Pitchfork, Complex, ESPN's Undefeated.
He fancy.
I'm in the 1% of top 1% of writers on Medium.com. I own a professional wrestling company, Capital Wrestling. I've also been quoted in ESPN, the Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, and Billboard, and a bunch of different stuff. I've been doing this for like the last 10 years. Native Washingtonian, avid political follower, which is why I'm on this podcast, and definitely please feel free to stay tuned.
Yes, and our guest for this
Yes.
first portion of our night.
I am Damon Dixon, a native Washingtonian.
I'm a native
by way of
Washingtonian too. By the way,
DC
we're all
and Silver
native
Spring.
Washingtonians here.
I am a father and former service industry. I don't know what you want to call it, lieutenant.
Yes, I like that.
Capo.
Lieutenant.
You know, I did a service industry for 20 years or so. Musician, singer, frontman for Supreme Commander and the Mighty Trouble Threat. Let's see, co-host of the DC as Fuck podcast. I hope I can say that on
Yes,
this,
you
That's
can.
fine.
You're
this
all good.
venue. And there's
You're
a
all
child
well.
here, but they're not paying attention.
I'm sorry. I'm texting and all types of stuff. My business partner just texted me. My bad.
No,
My bad.
you're good.
My bad.
And I currently work as a stagehand with Local 22.
Yes.
Shout out to all the unions out there.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Shout out
Unions.
to the
Shout out to
unions.
organized labor.
You're a local living legend, you know
Yes,
that.
yes.
I mean, I'm just,
We did.
I'm just
I'm fun at parties.
Can you talk about the kind of the music and the stuff that you do?
Well, Supreme Commander is my hardcore punk band that I've been in since 2007-ish. And good times. The Mighty Trouble Threat is a go-go band that I started in 2015 that I've been trying to
So we have two go-go legends here at the table.
get it together.
Ian Taranji.
Yes, yes.
One of us plays on a more frequent basis than the other.
And I know
ICC
for life.
life.
And I know that
For
today
life.
is somebody's birthday.
Yes. Shout out to my baby boy, my oldest, DJ. He turned 8 today.
Shout out to
Yes.
DJ. Happy birthday.
Let's hope we can give him the gift of democracy,
Yes.
returning.
And
Yes.
so
Return of decorum.
and with just a little bit of that, we'll give him my good alto. Happy birthday
To ya.
Happy birthday to ya.
Happy birthday.
All right. All right. That's DC.
Is that a 4-part harmony?
That felt good.
I don't know what
Really
that was.
nice.
It was the vodka.
Just turn it
So
all heads.
we are
I have, a
what?
feeling, I have a feeling it sounded much better in my cans than it did in real life.
I don't know. That poor baby's gonna be like, can they not sing to
Yeah.
us anymore? Yes. Shout out to my friends that are showing up. Yay!
Yeah.
Hey, Northeast is in the house.
Here we go. Here
So
we
yeah.
go.
So and shout out to everybody here in Mindspace. Y'all doing good out there? Yes, they're eating and drinking.
Everybody's eating and drinking
Everybody's
right now.
eating and drinking. All right.
Yeah.
So where
And we're
is-
going to do the same.
what is the Democratic HQ? Where are they right now? What's Dem HQ tonight? Where are they?
I don't-
I don't know.
I
either.
guess it's where
Every race has their own age.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was going to say that let's make sure that people get a sense of what they're looking for tonight as far as how many seats the
Oh, yeah,
Democratic Party
that's
needs
right.
to pick up. Ian, I know this is one of your favorite talking points, so I want you to run it down.
It says right here on CNN, Democrats must pick up 23 Republican seats in order to take
23.
majority
And we
in the
talked
House.
and we talked about that on one of the shows.
in the
we
House. The
literally
magic number is
broke-
what? 2?
2.
Senate.
Yes.
Two.
Senate.
2 in the
But,
Senate.
but,
Thank
but,
you.
but the map is very tough. The map,
Yeah.
all the people who won in 2012
There
are
are
up.
435 House seats that are available before election tonight.
Correct. Every single House seat is up. Really quickly on Senate, I think some sort of canaries in the coal mine, things to watch in the Senate that, again, could portend or could not portend the blue wave. Indiana is a Democratic incumbent. It's a conservative state that Trump won. Missouri, Trump won, I think, by 12.
Yeah.
And Claire McCaskill is there. Democratic pickup opportunities in Tennessee. Phil Bredesen, I believe the former mayor of Nashville, against Marsha Blackburn, who's a representative. They're going for Bob Corker's seat. And Texas, your man Marcus
Yes.
Beto O'Rourke,
The hottest guy in the hottest seat right now is Beto
hottest guy in
O'Rourke.
the hottest seat. I think obviously Georgia governor, Florida governor, those are going to be interesting races to watch.
Which one are you paying the most attention to? They all matter, but which one has your...
I'm paying the most attention to the Senate. I am operating under a belief that the Democrats will get the 23 seats that they need in the House. I want to see what happens in the Senate, and if we get a really, truly blue wave that sweeps across this land, across the fields with amber waves of grain.
Amber waves of grain.
Tennessee and Texas pick up opportunities. Indiana, Missouri, Democratic incumbents who are in very tough races. Heidi Heitkamp in North Dakota, I kind of think she's cooked. And then the Senate races in Arizona and Nevada. That would be Kristen Sinema, Democrat, versus Martha McSally. That's an open race for, I believe, Jeff Flake's seat.
Yes.
And then Dean Heller, the Republican incumbent in Nevada, against Jackie Rosen, who I believe is a state rep. I am sort of assuming that Heitkamp is not going to win North Dakota. I'm assuming that Democrats are going to pick up Arizona and Nevada.
And that would be fascinating to see both Arizona and Nevada. These are both one-time Republican strongholds.
Yeah.
So
much like Virginia, much like California was.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about California tonight.
California has a lot of Republican incumbent representatives who are in districts that Hillary won.
Here's the thought.
Plus, it's California.
Here's the thought tonight. Another thing that I wanted to make sure that we mention that people need to watch if they're watching these things closely. The necessity for the Democratic Party to establish new strongholds is super important tonight.
Yeah.
Because there are states that can't flip.
Yep.
There are like stronghold states because the key to Trump and the key to the formation of his base is that he is going into places where he knows he is assured a mandate, which means numerous times that he can go back to these same people and win these same races. So he's willing to give up key states. He's willing to give up a Florida. He's willing to give up a Georgia because he can clear the table in the entire Midwest. So,
but he's losing. But they're losing in the Midwest. Democrats look poised to pick up governorships in Michigan, in Wisconsin. I think Scott Walker could potentially lose Wisconsin. Ohio, I think the Ohio Senate race, that Midwest band.
I will say as well, the key is that Trump is always willing to win ugly. So he's willing to if Congress is split, he knows he has 2 more years to create an even greater divide in a split Congress.
Yeah.
That's like, I think that's like possibly even bigger than O'Rourke or any other story, is the fact that if Congress is split directly down the middle with a Republican Senate and a Democratic-controlled House, that Trump's ability to drive a wedge between the houses of Congress themselves is going to be a fascinating thing to watch occur.
Things are getting crazy here. Things are getting crazy here in our last... Literally our last
30
seconds
here, yeah.
Our last seconds.
So the whole
celebrities. We've got celebrities sighting. The pasteurized chef. The pasteurized chef is here. Unfortunately, we don't have time to get you on because we're about to.
That's all right. He can give 2 grunts, and then we are going to wrap it up. Grunt for us.
Come on.
Hurry up. Hello, testing.
1 2 1.
Just because you're high on ecstasy, you can still roll up here.
Oh my goodness, Val, come on!
It's not on ecstasy. It's mushrooms.
Yeah. And Val is just walking off. I told her to come on.
She's smart.
She's smart.
She's been doing maybe fucking for 2 days.
She's getting a drink.
Right.
The
Anyway,
DC TBD show in no way endorses.
Hold on.
In no way endorses the use of psychedelic mushrooms.
All right.
This psychedelics is good for my concussion.
That's our show.
All right, there it is, y'all. Next polls are closing in
hold on. Can you guys catch me up? What the fuck is going on?
The polls are closing.
We just spent an hour talking about what the fuck's going on.
I don't know what the fuck's going on.
And we will be back at 7.
Oh my God!
At 9.
We'll be back at 9.
Thank you all so much for tuning in.
Why are we separating our way?
There it is. Bernie Sanders is a winner. We'll see y'all back at 9 o'clock. Peace out.